Good afternoon, and thank you for taking the time to join us today for our second Statehouse session. I am Angela Sicoli, President of New Jersey Realtors, and with me today is Jared Grasso, our Chief Executive Officer. Thank you, Senate President Stephen Sweeney, for joining us today. Senate President Sweeney has represented the 3rd Legislative District covering portions of Cumberland, Gloucester, and Salem Counties since 2002 in the State Senate, and has served as a Senate President since 2010. Thank you for being with us, Senator. And now I will turn over the program to Jared.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. I'm actually waiting for the Senate President to join us.
Oh.
Chair is still empty. So it looks like he'll be on in 2 seconds.
Should I repeat it, or has everybody heard me?
You might want to just, I could just introduce him, so it's fine, Ange.
Okay.
There he is.
There he is.
The one part of the economy that's actually working, you guys.
The real estate industry, right?
Absolutely.
It's because you guys kept us open during the shutdown. You deemed us essential, Steve, so we do appreciate that.
You are essential. You saved our economy.
Well, Mr. President, thanks for being with us today. Why don't you start with a kind of an opening statement? You summarized where we were. We are the engine pulling this economy. So why don't you take it from there?
Yeah, well, Jared, and thanks for inviting me on the call. The real estate market in this state is saving our economy. I mean, look, our numbers are bad, but without you guys, we would really, really be in trouble. It's exciting to see how, things kind of got reversed here. People were moving out of the suburbs and it was hard to sell properties. And now my brother just sold his house, $25,000 over asking, within a couple of weeks, and, like 20, 30 people bidding on its house. So it's great to see that people are moving back into New Jersey. And, Jared, we have our issues, and we'll talk about that. But, we got the best schools in the country, and when you make decisions where you're going to live, normally you want to be safe and you want to have great schools. My own story is I have a daughter with Down syndrome. I would have moved anywhere to make sure she got the best education possible. And thank God, the community I lived in had a great record for special needs education. So, again, people, look, we got to talk about taxes, because we really got to address property taxes. Can you imagine what your market would be like and how much more value there would be in homes if we could fix the property tax issue? And I have a lot of ideas on that the time has come and we have to address. But with that, Jared, I'm happy to
well, actually, I think that's a good discussion, because you've already taken steps as Senate President to kind of work on consolidation and sharing of services. Why don't you talk a little bit more about what you have done as Senate President over the last couple of years?
Well, Jared, one of the big things we did was a thing called a reverse auction, like an eBay for pharmaceuticals. New Jersey was the first state in the country to issue legislation to do that. And the outcome was, just by making a competitive process, we dropped our pharmaceutical prices over 5 years, $500 million a year, which is a lot of money. Just negotiated a new healthcare agreement with the teachers union that saves over $1 billion. The teachers themselves will save around $400 million, and the taxpayers will save $670 million. It's, there's ways of saving. There's a lot of ways of saving money. It's just looking at it. I tell people New Jersey is the most expensive state in the world because, we like what we have, but we don't like to pay for it. We like all this boutique government. It works over there. Jared, and before I was a senator, I was a freeholder. I was a freeholder director in Gloucester County. And we started closing our jails. Gloucester doesn't have any jails now. They save $21 million every year by not having jails. Think about it. When I left as freeholder director, we were saving, and this is 2010, we were saving towns collectively $30 million by doing shared services of police, fire, emergency management, dispatch. countywide tax assessment, something that, and I'm sure you guys, your organization would love to see something like that, but it makes it so much more efficient. And revals, they do a review every 3 years. Countywide ambulance, countywide stormwater management. We took a lot of things that local governments didn't want and started sharing services on them. Consolidated school districts. We consolidated our vocational school and our special service school district. And from doing that, we started off saving 750,000, turned into 2 million a year. So over 20 years, it was $40 million that we didn't spend that was taxpayers' money. Jared, you got to look at it as what we're doing doesn't really work. So why continue to do, Einstein said, if you continue to do the same thing over and over again and expect different results, it's called insanity.
Yeah.
Regionalized schools, from, doing a path to progress where we were running around the state, we actually have school districts voluntarily studying consolidating. And, one place in the northern part of the state, they said, well, 3 out of 4 of us agree. So it's not going to happen because the one's going to block it. I said, screw the one, do the 3, let them be the outlier and they'll have to buy in. So it's about really reducing costs. You wouldn't have, like, we got 600 school districts. We don't need 600 school districts. What we need is quality, high quality schools. We need to be able to fund, technology. We need to modernize our schools. Listen, our teachers do a great job for us. They're underpaid. People can, pick on them all they want, but teachers are not getting rich being teachers. They probably could do a lot better in doing other things in life. So, all in all, my big thing is I want to start to have the real conversations on how to fix things. The fact that we were able to negotiate a teacher's healthcare plan that saves over $1 billion. Reverse auctions. You start adding this all up, it's 500 million here, 600 million there. All of a sudden, you're talking billions of dollars. So, because of this pandemic, this was a very difficult budget for me, but I got commitments from the administration and the speaker that we're going to start to actually address some of the systemic things that exist here. Jared, this has been, the subjects we were talking about have been there forever. It's just now we have no choice but to actually address these. And, a new pension system like they did in Pennsylvania with the unions negotiated it. Why can't we have that here? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
I told somebody, I told Governor Wolf, I was on a panel with him. I said, you're my hero. And he said, well, for what? I said, you negotiated a new pension system. And he said to me, what's that a big deal? I said, well, I follow your press because I'm in the Philadelphia media market. I said, no one was kicking the shit out of you. I said, whenever I talk about it, they want to kill me. I said, and the fact that the unions actually came to the table, and that's what we're asking for here, Jared, for them to come to the table and recognize that, look, and I blame everybody for the pension problem. I blame everyone because everyone was involved. No one can say not me because this wasn't the case. You don't negotiate how much you put into your pension system. You put in what the market says you need to make your assumptions. So, like I said, fixing it, keeping the promise to all the workers that have that pension, that signed up for the job when they did 25 years ago, is critically important. But there's got to be a new generation of workers, and there has to be a new deal. The fact that we put 4.7 billion into that fund, and it all goes back to 1997. And, we bonded a pension, we made an obligation that won't be paid off until I think 2029. And it's all backloaded. It was non-recallable. You couldn't redo it. It just, we need to fix things here.
So Steve, not to cut you off, but you think that this is truly an opportunity now that we've kind of hit the lowest of lows with the pandemic. It sounds like you feel that this is an opportunity for us to really get all the parties together and negotiate a true future for the state of New Jersey.
Because, Jared, listen, this is number one, public employees are taxpayers too. And they don't like paying high taxes. I can tell you that. So for me, it's bringing everybody to the table saying, look, Governor Murphy said it, I'm going to get to a full payment. I'm going to get to my 100% obligation, but then I need a new system. And we might as well do that now, because if we do it right, we could look, when you make changes to the pension, as you understand, Jared, the 30 years looks, but you can adjust your numbers based on what you're going to pay 30 years from now. It changes all the numbers. Because I would love this June to be the year we get to 100% of our obligation. Now, the thing that kills me is if the pension hadn't been screwed around with, and again, the 9%, Democrats, Republicans all went along with increasing the pension 9%, so no finger pointing. But instead of what the payment should be, which is $750 million, we paid $4.75 billion. There's $4 billion, Jared, that we're paying that could have given us free, maybe reduced property taxes, free colleges. That's a lot of money, $4 billion. And it's going to be in the pension for a long time to come.
Right. Well, and you look at the outward migration of our students, who, even if they live in New Jersey, they don't come to school in New Jersey for college, or after college, they move out of the state. And we want to try to incentivize them to stay in the state.
Well, Jared, when you think about, we're the number one exporter of kids in the country. And we spend more on children than any place in the country. So what we found out is, because we don't support higher education, because we don't have the money to the levels we should, New Jersey has the second most expensive four-year public institutions in the country. All the states around us, all the states that surround us have special out-of-state tuition rates for New Jersey kids. Our kids are smart. And you know what happens? When someone moves out, normally they'll find a boyfriend or a girlfriend. Eventually they find a job, they establish roots. And I've seen plenty of studies. If you're in a place for 4 or 5 years, there's a real likelihood you're not coming back. And
right.
And since we paid for that education, we wanted to strengthen our economy, not another state's economy. We feel like we're giving away our future.
We truly are. You're absolutely right. And I'm excited that you're going to start focusing on this issue, because I think that this is one of the biggest issues that we have to face, the property tax issue, but along with keeping our kids in the state of New Jersey. As a parent of young kids, I look at their future, and I know it's going to be difficult for them to stay and thrive in New Jersey. So I'm excited that you're going to take a look at this in the years ahead.
Oh, absolutely. I talked with the president of records. We both had the conversation on the level of state support. Jared, back in, I think it was 2013, we did a bond, to try to expand our universities, create more capacity. One of the problems was we didn't have capacity for our kids. I'm lucky. When my son was going to college, he was looking to go out of state. And I said to him, look, if you go out of state, you pay. You stay in New Jersey, I pay. And he's a cheap little bastard, so he stayed.
No, he's smart. Dad's paying for it. Yeah.
Very smart. He graduated with no bills.
Smart man. Smart. You raised him right, Steve.
Absolutely. Well, I didn't want him to leave.
Right.
I didn't want him to leave, and it's unfortunate we make it too easy. Well, kids are going to leave because they want to explore. But the reality is we want New Jersey to be the place, the kids want to come to. Rutgers is a phenomenal institute. Down by me, Rowan is only the second school in the country that has an MDDO program. Their engineering program's actually been rated higher than Drexel's now. So, driving higher education is driving your economy and is creating the type of jobs that you want in your communities. We got the pharmaceutical industry because of Princeton. Princeton's the world. I don't know if you've ever been into their labs, but Princeton is the world. You see the brightest people in the world at that university. And
Right.
that's why a lot of these pharmaceuticals, a long time ago, made New Jersey their home.
Well, Steve, this great conversation, but I do want to start focusing in on a couple of the other issues that have been impacting the industry. One of which is lead in housing. We've been working with Senator Ruiz and Senator Cruz Perez on modifying legislation that they had introduced. And you're familiar with the bill. It would require a lead paint inspection at the time of sale. And we've been advocating that these young families have been living in this house for 7 to 10 years before they even go to sell that house. And we want to try to put together a program that is more proactive than reactive. And I know that Senator Cruz Perez has been very receptive to working on a pilot program for the state. What are your thoughts on creating a pilot program where we could proactively go after these monies, grant monies for homeowners?
Hey, Jared, I think it's the smartest thing you can possibly do. You remember our underground storage tank issues? Remember that?
Yes, sir.
One day, Hank McNamara, Senator McNamara, he was the father of that. I said to him, I said, Hank, I got a question for you. Why don't we take them out before they leak? Because you know something is buried, right?
Yep.
And everyone's, oh, that's brilliant. I said, no, it's common sense. So coming up with an idea, and Senator Cruz Perez and Ruiz are, very open, very smart ladies. Like you said, Jared, at point of sale, do lead inspection. Just to make sure we fix these things rather than have all the problems that we have. I'm very open to that. Very open to it. And I know they're working with you. So I would expect to see something, I would think, shortly.
Yeah, we had the conversation. We had a great conversation with Senator Cruz Perez about 2 weeks ago in her committee. The bill was second reference to Senate Budget and Appropriations. I know that monies were allocated through the budget process to create some type of lead program, and I've been working with Kevin Drennan from your office. So we're excited for the future of this legislation because we think that it's finally going in the right direction, and we're going to really see kind of some true remediation for these young families. So I thank you for your leadership on this. I know that your team behind the scenes has been very influential, and we thank you for that.
No problem.
So the next issue that you and I have had extensive conversations on is the independent contractor status for our real estate licensees. Your bill was instrumental in creating a conversation during the last session. And I know that this is something that you definitely want to tackle. What are your feelings about making sure that our real estate licensees still have the protections that are afforded to them on the federal level?
Jared, I caused a lot of shit with that one, didn't I?
Yes, you did. A lot of conversations.
But as you know, we recognize, you guys are truly independent. And that's why we took you out, and any bill going forward will keep you out.
Thank you, Senator. And listen, we know that the real discussion.
Jared,
Go ahead. Yes, sir.
For the people on the call, you gotta realize Jared does one hell of a job for you guys. And I wouldn't say it if he doesn't, because he stays on top of us on these issues.
Oh, Steve, thank you. I also want to give credit to my full team. I've got Doug Thompson and Catherine Bess and the rest of the crew, Bruce Shapiro. So
you got a good group. You got a
we
good
do.
group.
We're very fortunate. We have a strong team working with us. So let's talk about leadership in COVID-19. Steve, I mean, it's been an interesting year for you. Obviously, we can't have those in-person meetings at the Statehouse. We're starting to get back to them a little bit. But what's it been like for you as from a leadership perspective?
Sucks.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, this stinks. Jared, the world is so different now. And we're all clamoring, desperate to get back to what we know we had. And look, it's brought out some good things. The governor, myself, and the speaker are working much closer than before the outbreak. And, in times of crisis, you can't let your differences be polarizing where you can't find solutions. So I think that has improved. But again, just, I think that we need to give more flexibility. We need to give more direction to our businesses and give them the ability to start opening up. It's not right with restaurants right now. Jared, I'm doing a bill right now on ventilation systems. You can put technology into your ventilation systems that kill the virus. You know, the
Right.
blue, violet, lights. Well, if ventilation is what's keeping restaurants from opening up, well then let's give them some money for their ventilation systems and let these people start opening up again. Because businesses, my big fear, Jared, is come December, because I think that's when the reality is gonna set in of, oh, that store closed, that business closed. There was a restaurant in Woodbury that's been there for 60 years. It closed, and it would have never closed if it did, except for this. But closing, opening up again is much harder once it's been closed. So giving more guidance, giving more direction. I think that the CDC has rules for pretty much everything, and trust in these businesses. Trust, but validate, but give these businesses the ability to open up. I mean, the vote by mail is upsetting to me, because I think we should have given people the option. Because if I can stand in a line at motor vehicle, if I can stand in lines in a grocery store, then I'm sure we could find a way to vote in person. And listen, you give an option. In Minnesota, they gave the option, vote by mail or in person. They voted 25% in person, 75% by mail. But you were giving people a choice, and one of the things with this pandemic is we're restricting the ability a little bit too much, I think.
Yeah. Mr. President, I know that there have been monies afforded to the state of New Jersey given from the federal government side.
Mhm.
Are there still monies left so that we could implement like a program to create grants to local businesses and restaurants?
Yes, there is money. We're working with the administration and the speaker on pots of money. There's still money left, Jared, and we want to get it to where the business, into the hands of business people. We want to get it, we want to be able to get rental assistance. That's another big one right now. And the rental, we were doing a bill that the Senate passed. I know the bill the Senate passed,
Mhm.
and pretty much everyone was on board with it. And then the bill got completely rewritten in the assembly. And as I told people, I want to protect people and protect them from being thrown out. But I also want to protect the person that has been working their butts off for years, buying up a handful of properties here and there. And, they got rights here too. Jared, I had a friend of mine that just turned in a handful of properties that he worked most of his life for. That was his retirement that he just lost. So finding the balance to protect both sides is what's really important here.
Right. It feels like sometimes the landlords are treated like almost the devil when they're providing housing to these individuals, and they don't have the funds to maintain those properties if they're not receiving rent. So it goes both ways.
I think I read a stat that, correct me if I'm wrong, like half the rental properties are owned by small,
Mom and pops.
mom and pops.
Yeah, mom and pops. Absolutely.
Yeah. And look, it's like in every industry, you got bad actors and you got real good actors. I think the owners, the landlords, were being demonized for going out, buying a property, improving the neighborhood. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
I had one. Listen, Jared, I had one on my block, right, where house was, they walked away from the home, and for 3.5 years, it was. And I live in a nice middle class neighborhood, and it was like drove everybody nuts. Someone bought the property, fixed it up, and is renting it now. We're thrilled. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
We're thrilled.
It's better than looking at the blight of a house falling apart down the street.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And it was 2 houses from me. You know what I mean? So I couldn't
Right.
miss it.
Right.
And like I said, so the idea that all landlords are evil is really the wrong approach. And like I said, I felt really bad for a friend of mine that had properties in Atlantic City. He said he was collecting $15,000 a month in rents. And, he hasn't had any money come in months, and he can't pay for his insurances. And he basically just gave up. He couldn't cover his bills. He gave up.
Right.
And, Jared, the other point is, and I said this, and I can't get anybody to give me a solid answer on this. If I'm getting an extra $600 a week, which everybody was for months, how am I not paying my rent or my mortgage if I got extra money coming? Because
That was the point of the PUC money, that additional $600 to keep you afloat so that you could pay your obligations. Right.
listen, I had what I do for a living. My iron workers, I had a lot of them didn't want to go to work. They were making more money sitting home than they were working. So the least you can do is pay your bills.
Right. Yeah. No, you're right, Steve. Well, you know what I always appreciated about you and your leadership is that you've been always straightforward, always direct with everything that you have to say, and you don't hold any punches. And it's been nice to always have that kind of relationship with you where I know where I stand. If I ask you something, if you can't do it, or if you think it's not right for the state, you just tell us. And I wish more politicians were like you, Steve, honestly. It's always a breath of fresh air to hear you speak, kind of give your perspectives for the state of New Jersey. And I know that your time is valuable. You've given us 30 minutes. Is there anything else that you want to say to the members that we have on the call today?
Hey, listen, I just thank everyone for what they're doing. This industry that we're talking about right now is keeping our economy going. It's a nice reversal from what we were saying, and any way we can continue to work, Jared. Like I said, we like working with you. You and your team do a great job. Very good at communicating the issues. And, you don't come crying whenever you come when it's real. And that makes a big difference. The sky is not always falling, but when it is falling, at least you guys let us know.
No.
And we'll continue to work together, as we have in the past.
Absolutely. Thank you, Steve. Thank you for your friendship and your leadership over the years, my man. Thank you very
Got it, my
much.
friend. Take care.
All
See
right.
you guys.
Bye, guys.
Yes.
Well, everybody, I hope you enjoyed the Senate President today. Tomorrow, we have the Senate Republican leader, Tom Kean Jr., joining us. If you haven't registered for that, please do so. And thank you for tuning in to the F.R.E.S.H Summit. We'll see you all soon. Bye.
Bye.